Hey guys, it is Citri here again, and I will be sharing with you what I've been working on the last wee while that has kept me busy since I got back from my holidays in Sweden, Ireland and England. I've been working on a maze, a game maze, and the objective of this maze is to get around the maze, light all 13 of these beacons by visiting the various rooms that are associated with them, and more or less just dealing with maze, which is powered with Runecraft teleporters hidden in the floor, maze walls that change dynamically, and all sorts of malarkey that I could fit in using Runecraft. So I'm going to be covering some of the features, and we've already looked in the last tutorial at the wall changing feature, block replacement. This time I'm going to be looking at the Switcherooms, which are the rooms around the maze, the objectives. Now a room is quite literally a 5x5 piece of architecture. It's got a pressure sensor under the ground, linked to a Topsy Turvy room that will flip you up here into a mirror image of the room. The only difference is that the corridors aren't quite the same, and this one, instead of leading out, now leads to a different location, and this particular one is station number 6 that links to the 6th glowing beacon in there. The way it works is the user enters the room, flips this switch to unlock it and open the damage sensor inside, punches that and finds themselves back in the maze at a location completely unknown to them. I just happen to know where it is. You can see back in the maze that number 6 has now lit up, and once all 13 of these light up, then the exit one here will open and you'll be able to punch that exit sensor as well. As you can see, it's not possible to reach through the gaps and punch these stations. So I'll be looking at those today. So I positioned my friend down in the bowels, and he is manually activating all of these stations so that they light up here, and you can see that as a player progresses they'll be able to clearly see where they've got to, and once all 13 are lit, because the others are all lit, this opens, and as with most damage sensors you can escape. The stations, as I've shown, have the ability to be controlled remotely. So not only can I open it from within the station and gain access to the damage sensor this way, but the station can also be controlled from the control center that I have, where all the redstone for this happens. And as you can see, I just had my friend shut that one down. Also, there's a global reset button that doesn't quite fully work yet, but when you hit it, every single of these stations will just shut down like that, just like that. And you can reset the maze ready for the next person, at least once it's ready and functioning. Now at the bottom half of one of these rooms, which I've referred to as a switcher room, awful pun on switcheroo there, it's got a pressure sensor beneath the half slab floor, has to be half slab so that it gets triggered, and that is linked to this Topsy Turvy rune here. So a player enters the room and gets flipped up. It's a tier 2 rune, and I found that this captures enough of the floor but not that much of the surrounding wall space, and then once that's up there you can repair everything down here and you've got yourself a working flipper room. I will add that I just chose not to fill out this pressure sensor rune here. It doesn't actually grab any of these blocks here. It only takes this out the half slabs, and it doesn't touch the row below. Now in the upper room, you have to ensure that the player exits the same point, relatively speaking, to the way they came in, because if you have openings in this wall here, or gaps, or blocking up, say, if you had this here, then when it flips, it causes the downstairs one to be blocked, or an opening to appear, or otherwise just your maze to become distorted. So what I found was making sure that the upstairs exit was in the same place as the downstairs entrance, and any other entrances, exits, just like had a few blocks of walking space after them that the player can go through. Once they're up here, you just have to lead them into the main room itself. But the important thing for the entrance to a switcher room is that there is a pressure sensor linked to a Topsy Turvy, and that the rooms have more or less the same shape to them, so that there's no distortion. And that way you can have someone sucked up or down, if you wanted to do it the other direction, up or down, and you get the same effect. The automation process itself is quite simple. You just hook up a sensor to your signature of choice. In my maze, I used bedrock to the north, and iron blocks at the sides, and an arbitrary piece of wool to sort of indicate which particular station I was automating, so that if there were any close by, they wouldn't accidentally automate each other in undesirable ways. It's just a case of drawing this redstone down here, putting in some torches, and we will have a sensor. Sensors are behaving somewhat strangely at the moment. They seem to be activating in a 4x4 instead of a 3x3 around the middle, so that I'll just draw this out for you. So yes, so at the moment the pressure sensors, as they used to, are activating in these 3x3 grids here, but they're also activating when a player stands on these squares as well, which I don't think is correct, because it doesn't activate when they stand on these ones around here. I will automate the Topsy Turvy room just to sort of give you a demonstration of this strangeness in effect. So all you need is to automate that and have a working pressure sensor below, and you will have the effect that we're looking for. I'll dig these out and show you that the pressure sensor isn't working along this edge, but is working in this corner. You can see I'm quite out with the catchment range at the moment, so if I do this, it should flip back down. And it is working all along here, which it shouldn't be, if I understand it correctly. So that required a little bit of alteration to the maze, but otherwise it's not an overtly bad thing. Just that it's a bit not intuitive. But yes, back to the main thing we're demonstrating here. Now we have a room that when the user stands in it, in the very center of it, the user will get sucked up or down, depending on, well, I think it'll have to be up. We'll get sucked up into the above room, and more or less you've got a way of forcing that to happen. Kind of like an hourglass, really. Now, this setup does have one slight problem, and that's if there's two people in, or rather one person in both spheres at any given moment. I've left my other character here, but if I go down in here, then when it flips us both, then kind of hurts, because it's continually looping whenever there's anyone on the bottom floor, and there will always be someone on the bottom floor, because when I go up, my other character comes down, and when I go down, he goes up, so it will rotate infinitely, and it will kind of hurt. So it's a wee bit of a non-safe for multiple users at any given time thing there. So now you guys know more or less what it is I've been up to, making this rather impressive maze. It's 64 by 64. It's got, the maze is 2.5 blocks high. It's got a lot of space above it for runecrafty stuff, a lot of space below it for more runecrafty stuff, and redstone work. Frame rate is dropping here, but you can see there's a lot that goes on here. It's also got one of those drum heartbeat things that I made a while ago. So I hope you like this tutorial and that you can make something out of the switcheroo room. The next couple of advanced tutorials are going to be more or less about this maze, and hopefully once it's ready to show you guys, like once it's properly ready, I'll be able to release it and the magic file in a way that you guys can actually play this maze yourselves. This is definitely the most complicated thing I've ever made with Runecraft, or in general. I'd like to thank Jardy, who is an RL friend who has just started making all sorts of crazy stuff on YouTube. Link here for him, and he's also in one of my boxes on my front page. Thanks to him for helping me build this and for helping me test it and work on it. I do hope I can get this out to you guys so you can play that. If you have any comments or questions in general or specifically about this video, leave them below. Like it and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I hope to see you guys in future videos. Cheers!